I full disclosure, because I need to make this clear, because some people I get all kinds of stuff now on X, Twitter, whatever. I get stuff on Facebook, I get texts, I get all sorts of things. I am not an Ohio State Buckeye fan, period. Let's make that absolutely clear. Also, to be fully transparent, I am not a Michigan Wolverines fan any longer. I left after Jim Harbaugh made just a joke of the program. I got tired of waiting, and it was even before him. It was, the Brady Hoke days. It was Rich Rodriguez days. I just got tired of it. And then I didn't like what Harbaugh was doing. Then when they finally got better and they started competing, I just wasn't going to go jump back on the wagon. So at least you know where I stand on that. Not a fan of either. I am a sports fan. I have a sports talk show. I love the game of football. So I watched it from a fan's perspective, from a former coach perspective, and from analyzing sports, which is what I'm going to do here with you. And I do all the time now. I'm not sure what I watched. To be honest with you, I'm still 2 days later trying to figure out what the hell I just watched. I'm just going to tell you, everybody's an armchair quarterback, right? Me included. But I did coach the game on certain levels, and I'm going to just talk to you through a coach's lens and a coach's perspective. Our job as coaches is to put our teams in the most optimal position to win said game, said season, said whatever the scenario is. That is not what happened on Saturday. I don't care if you're a Michigan fan. I don't care if you blow up my phone. I'm going to give it to you real. Ohio State beat themselves. Michigan beat them based on what they allowed them to do. The key and operative word, allowed them to do. I'm going to get to Ryan Day in a few minutes, okay? But Ryan Day is a weakling. He is an insecure guy that goes around and shoots his mouth, and he thinks that program is something bigger than what it is. For a long time now, I've been calling Ryan Day the biggest biggest small game coach in college football currently today. There is no coach that comes up smaller in a big game than him. And it's not a one-off. It's not a two-off, because everyone has their moment. This guy keeps doing the same thing year after year after year, big game after big game after big game. It's Ohio State and Notre Dame. It's Ohio State and Oregon. It's Ohio State and Michigan for now 4 straight years. This is a pattern. It's habitual. This is not a one-off. This is who he is. If you saw the clips from the pep rally, if you saw the clips from the week before, we're Ohio State, we got character, and I mean, for crying out loud, we're Ohio State. And exactly what does that mean? You are literally burying and embarrassing your program. I can't wait to see how many people decommit from your program, because why would they want to come play for you? I'll get to more of that in a minute. Man, I just cannot believe it. So Michigan wins the game 13-10, right? So I'm sitting there as the game starts, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, how's Ohio State going to play this? We know Michigan doesn't have an offense. We know they can't even throw the ball down the field. We know they got 2 good running backs. They have what they're calling you would call a game manager at quarterback. You got nothing on the outside. Your best offensive weapon, basically, maybe you could make an argument that Mullings and Loveland are their best. But he's out, right? So you basically have nothing. You cannot keep up with the other team if they do what they're supposed to do, unless something flukish happens, right? Somebody gets injured, somebody hands you the game, somebody plays to your strengths instead of exposing your weaknesses. And I say what their best player, that's offensively, but without Will Johnson there, how are you not going after their void in the secondary? So I'm all right. So I'm thinking, let's just go back. And I'm not wearing red for any other reason, red and white. I'm not wearing it for any other reason. So you can just get that out of your mind too. It's just one of my shirts. So I'm like, all right, how's he going to start this game? I put stuff up on social. They got 3 fantastic wide receivers. They got a nice tight end, 2 terrific running backs. Both can catch the ball out of the backfield. They have an above-grade service level quarterback at Will Howard. He's no game breaker. He's none of that. But he doesn't need to be with those type of weapons. You just need to be kind of above average in this game, not make any critical mistakes, get the ball into your playmakers' hands. Into the line. Into the line. Into the line. All right. So you're playing into Michigan strength, right? You got Joe Klatt saying it. You got everybody online blowing up X. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Into the line, 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 into the line. And you're thinking to yourself, I just can't believe what I'm seeing. So it gets back and forth, key turnovers both ways, 3-0, you know, this and that, 10 to 3, whatever it was. Then Ohio State gets in a 2-minute drill. Oh, what a concept, right? Michigan has a stout defensive line. It's the strength of their team. But see, Ryan Day and Ohio State have to prove that the last 3 years are a fluke. So we're going to try to out-muscle these guys. We're going to try to out-man these guys. We're going to try to out-maneuver or out-bully these guys by going after their strength. As a coach, there's no scenario. This is not about your ego, Ryan Day. This is about you are responsible for all of these kids' athletic and academic, part of their academic admission or time at the university. Your job is to put them in a position to win, not to see who's stronger or what I can prove or how I can save face for what happened the last 3 years. And the last 3 years prior to Saturday, yeah, Michigan punched them in the mouth. They were bigger, stronger, everything, and they just bulldozed them. And so what I believe that I saw is Ryan Day trying to prove that never happened. Let's just make this look like it's just magic. It didn't happen. Ryan Day, it happened. And you allowed it to a degree to happen again. It would not have happened. And you have almost zero chance to lose that game unless you hand it off on a silver platter, which is precisely what you did. You are superior at almost every position on the field, for sure, offensively, and a great majority of the pieces on the defensive end. And even a average subpar quarter or a subpar offense in Michigan, had it not been for your defense, that subpar offense would have scored more because you put them in a position playing from the 7-yard line, playing in short fields. You couldn't do anything with the exception of the 2-minute drive before the half. So you're looking at the 2-minute drive before the half. You can always change up the makeup of the game, the speed, the tempo, right? Let's go into a 2-minute drill. Let's keep them on edge. They're doing a semi-hurry-up offense by no huddle, but you're calling out all your signals and you're still snapping the ball with around 10, 12 seconds. That's not a hurry-up offense. That's not a 2-minute offense. It's not even a 4-minute offense. You see what you did successfully. It's even earlier in the game when you decided, with the exception of a football field's 53 yards wide. Will Howard is no strong-arm quarterback. You got pressure in your face. You are basically in the center hash, means to get the ball all the way to the outside sideline is basically 26 and a half yards, and you got to do it on a rope. Only the strongest arm quarterbacks, the guys like Matthew Stafford, Justin Herbert, these types of guys, Josh Allen, Mahomes, these guys are the ones that make those types of throws. Yes, you have to get to the outside, but don't go there. Don't go there. It's just jump the route and it's over, and you see what happens. So anyways, aside from that, use your weapons to get outside, or better said, is just get them open in space. You're going to do a rollout and a throwback screen that is about as slow as moving as if I was 85 years old on a rocking chair. You're supposed to be what? Number 2 team in the country? Unprepared, totally. I mean, what an embarrassment. I'm fired up about this as a sports fan. If I was an Ohio State fan, I would be going ballistic right now. There's no way possible this guy could keep his job. There's just regardless of whatever happens this year, you cannot keep this clown as a head football coach. I don't even think he is a big-time university head coach. He's a small university, smaller university, Eastern, Western Michigan, South Florida, one of the smaller schools is where he belongs, or a coordinator at a bigger school. You are not a head coach caliber of a top 5, top 10 perennial school. You're just not. And one of my friends reached out today and says, oh, I mean, you're going a little bit too far with the Ryan Day. I don't know. Am I? I don't think. Well, he's 47-1 against people besides Michigan in the Big Ten. No one cares if you beat Illinois, Minnesota, Nebraska, Northwestern, Indiana previous to this year. No one cares about any of those teams. That's not what the Ohio State or what Michigan or Oregon or these even USC now, Penn State, this is not what these teams are judged by. You're judged by what you do in the biggest game, in the biggest moments. And if you cannot win in the biggest games in those moments, especially today, especially where these athletes have choices on where they can go. Somebody also said to me the other day, I said, why would anybody want to go play for Ryan Day? And he said, they're not going to play for Ryan Day. They're going to play for the money. Guess what? There's a lot of universities that have a lot of money. There's a lot of more boosters that are getting involved now because of NIL and getting more money in place, because if you don't, you're really going to get waxed. You have to be able to have more money to compete against the big universities, the Texases, the Michigans, the Ohio States. Oregon's got Phil Knight from Nike behind him. The money isn't the issue. These guys can go to a lot of different schools and get the money. And they're not going to go to a school that does not properly prepare them to play in the NFL, does not properly enable them or give them the opportunity to perform at the height of the game, at the spectacle of the game, in the biggest moments. It's just not going to happen. So Ohio State allowed Michigan to have a chance in the game. Michigan made a couple plays when they were supposed to. They didn't make any super critical mistakes after, the one interception. They did basically what they had to do. They did what they could do. They kept the ball on the ground, and they just played a little bit of keep away. And Ohio State, they stopped them quite a few times, right? There was a lot of punts, but Ohio State couldn't do anything offensively because they chose not to. Get this straight. All of you Michigan slappies, and multiples of you have reached out to me this weekend. Just remove your homerism for a moment and look at the game for what it was. If Ohio State plays the game they're supposed to play and Michigan plays the game they're supposed to play, it's a 3-touchdown difference. That's why the line was 20. You want to argue that it's 14 points instead? Fine. We can have that argument. But it's not Michigan's in the game, with the lead or tied most of the game. It's not Ohio State not scoring any points in the second half. Guys, girls, friends, neighbors, Michigan's defense isn't that good. You allowed them to be that good. If you play to anything or anyone's strengths, if it's a competitor in business, if you play to their strengths and you do things to help them out, you help them out, and you might lose the sale, you might lose the lead, you might lose, a staff member. I mean, this is basic stuff. This fires me up so much because this is such an elementary level of understanding. This is done at the middle school level. It's done at the high school level. All right. I didn't want to keep the show past 30, 35 minutes. Everybody's working and whatnot.